Hey guys, how's it going? It is Saturday, August 18th, 2018, 10:19 in the morning. Yeah, let's, should we do this? Yeah, let's do this. We'll do that. We'll see my ugly face, why not? Hell, I dressed just for this. Okay. Jesus, Murphy. Cameraman zoom. Yeah, I want this to go down just a bit more. But anyways, not too far down, but anyways. Okay. Cola. Nothing like that for a morning. Actually, I've been stopped doing it in the morning when I wake up, so it's been pretty good, but, you know. So, there's been some posts on some various locations, including my Wikia, which kind of stopped. There's a lot of things that stopped with me. August has been a very bad month in a lot of ways. Of course, I plan to rectify one thing, and that is I haven't been out on the raft in over a month, and I'm getting really antsy. But besides that, more serious things, of course. First of all, I could get a phone call anytime. I'm not here with my son right now. My son is home. I brought him home last night because he's not sleeping. His grandmother passed away, as you may have heard, last weekend, and ever since then, you know, he's been going through a lot of issues. Not major. When he's awake, he's fine. It's just when he's trying to sleep. When he's awake, he's coping really well. We've been having fun, and I'll have him today. I'll have him today. I don't know if he's going home tonight. I'll have him tomorrow. They're gonna call here at some point. It's I actually stayed up a little later last night. I brought him home at midnight, and of course his mom's been awake, so she's actually coping much better just because she's an adult. So, and like I said, my ex-mother-in-law is was more of not a parent to him. I've always been the parent, but just because of circumstances, she ended up seeing more of him than I have. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I've avoided him. That's for damn sure. He's my number one priority in life. I don't avoid him. It's just the circumstances of, you know, when a divorce happens and custody, and the fact that they were living under the same roof. So I'm watching very carefully with my ex as well. My ex and I, we've gotten along for years. Emmett is our number one priority, both of us, and we do whatever we can for Emmett. So, yeah, that being said, it's been a tough month. That happened last week. Now, I was going to keep very quiet about what was going on. Now, I don't know, because it hit me, because I was worried about my son. Maybe my mood changed. I don't know what happened. I can't even remember when I took my server down. I think I took it down around the 14th, if I recall. It had been about the 2-week mark, because I brought it up on the 1st. I took it down on the 14th. I wasn't going to say a damn thing. I didn't want to do any more YouTube. I just said, you know, that's it. I wanted to play an experiment. I was going to take the server down, not post a message, not do anything, and just see what kind of reaction I was getting. Because up to that point, between the 7th and 14th, I had nobody connecting, nobody asking questions about it, nothing. Yet there's still people looking for information about Run8. I just posted a message over on TradeSim. Somebody was in the screenshot form. I replied. Who knows? Maybe I'll get in trouble because I replied on the screenshot form. I don't know. We'll see. Stranger things have happened, but then again, we have certain people replying over there who are replying to joke threads in these forums because they turn into big joke threads over there. So I just posted a serious question. And I think it was a fair question. You guys can check it out over on the TradeSim forums yourself, you know, and see what happens. But anyways, the reason why I'm doing this is I think I owe it to both Mikey and Scott. Those have been the two biggest supporters I've had over the last little while. I've had other supporters come and go, but Mikey and Scott have, have been there. I mean, Quincy, I mean, he's been around. I'm not too sure where he's been, but he's always been a supporter and all that as well. I should mention him, but I haven't heard from him, so I don't know what's going on with him. So who knows? Maybe something happened with his computer too. But with Scott, I thought it was a health issue. He's gone through some. Actually, his health is getting better or something because he's going back home, or I don't know what's happened with Scott. But anyways, his computer was the one that had the issue. Mikey's got a computer issue right now. He said he would have been on. So a lot of people had computer issues. Unfortunately, that coincided with me attempting to do this server, and now it's gone. If I ever bring back a server, it's going to be private. It's going to be between us, and that's it. There's not enough activity on my forums, anyways. I'm tired. I'm tired of playing the public game. I really am. I'm tired of going out there. I'm tired of doing a YouTube channel and saying, here, I've got enough views, enough interest that should have got something going. But I warned people. I said, don't get it because of what I do. And I was warning. And the reason why I was warning that was because I knew in the back of my mind I could shut this down anytime. And sure enough, I did. And I tried a YouTube video last night. I tried to live stream with my son a new game that we got, which is Myth Survival. As you can see, I'm broadening. I've been doing this for well over a year now. I've been slowly getting into other things. Subsistence was one of them that has lasted a long time. Transport Fever was one we used for a while, but Transport Fever is too. It's too much requirements as far as Transport Fever is something that is too intensive or too micromanaging is the word. I don't want to micromanage anything. And funny I say that because my server by itself, even as small compared to the other two, as Run8 servers go, this was worlds, I should say. The Northeast has probably the smallest compared to the other two, just because California is so huge, and Jacksonville has a lot of industries, and it's really the Southeast is not only has expanded, but has become really big in industry, and plus it's traffic driven, and there's all kinds of things. Jacksonville's a huge area, and then you go further south in that, and you're getting into massive Tampa. Those are two big areas. It's a little different than Syracuse. Syracuse is fairly, it's okay, but Syracuse is in between some of the bigger ones. Albany's not even that big. Buffalo's bigger. Who knows? Maybe he's heading that way. He's heading west. He could be expanding towards Buffalo. I don't know. Maybe. If I was doing an editor, I would do right across the border, maybe meet him halfway. I don't know, but no. I wouldn't want something huge and giant because it's not the roots. It's not developers as far as the root developers go. It's really the manpower that's required for these things. And in order to you lose, for me personally, it all comes down to losing. And this has been a dilemma for version 2 since it came out. Version 2 just blew me away when it came out. It was so different than version 1, and it opened up so many possibilities, but then a lot of people just did their own thing. I don't even think the best servers out there have as many people as they could have if a lot of people, got together. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I always thought that there would be tons of busy servers. Instead, Most people aren't. Most people don't think the way I do, I guess. Most people don't think of it as a total railroad simulation. They think of it as a train simulator, and it's billed as a train simulator. It's not billed as a railroad simulator. We do not have a railroad simulator. We don't have something that really blends in and deals specifically with things, you know, how they're going. Now, I might cut this short at any time. Okay, if the phone rings, I might just cut this short. I'm just saying, because I am expecting a phone call sometime this morning, maybe later. He slept till 11 yesterday, so it's 10:30 right now. So I'm hoping he got a little bit of sleep, but we'll see. But anyways, or I might take it if something's, or I might take it on live. I might even take it on the screen. I don't know. I doubt it. So, but, or I can, who knows? I could turn all the captures off for a second, and maybe do a follow-up video later. I don't know. So, it's 10:30 right now. I don't know what else, you know, there's really to say about it. Mikey's been very supportive. It has nothing to do with any lack of support by him or anything like that. He's been more than helpful. He's probably watching this, you know, video if he's not watching it, you know, live, because it seems a lot of these guys do. He'll watch it later on when it goes to YouTube. Scott the same, you know, now that his equipment's working, he's I know he checks in, so I'm glad Scott's okay. I was worried about him. That's just my nature. I'm a worrier, so you know. When you don't hear from somebody, you're just like, oh boy. Especially when you know, you don't have, you know, you're relying on emails and stuff like that. So Scott had mentioned something too. He says, yeah, and his interest is dwindling. It goes back and forth. So, you know, his interest is like, he's in the same boat. Okay, first of all, this isn't something that I think it's more than just myself, and I think there are others out there, and quite frankly, I don't know what they're doing, or if there's anything. Maybe it's a lot of people love to drive trains, and they think that's the coup de grace to Run8. They think because of the physics and the way the train feels. How many times can you run a freaking route over the same scenery? And number one, if you're dispatching yourself, even if you're not dispatching yourself and you're being dispatched, how many times can you run that same route and just run mainline, point A to point B? You get set for some meets. This is why the Northeast is not popular. I'll tell you that right now. It has nothing to do with Mikey's ability, or it has nothing to do with, you know, he does have some assets that he's borrowed from the Southeast, etc. Those are stand-in assets. Those are what you do when you don't have the assets available that you'd like to put in. So you have placeholder assets is the word. It's a development term. You use placeholder assets when you don't have the time to develop your own assets or whatever, and you want to just get it out there. And that's not a criticism. That's just the way it is. Placeholder assets are very common in development. You'll see it all the time, and that's what Mikey's done. It's got nothing to do with that. He still has in my opinion, out of the three, and it just has to do with region. It doesn't have to do with necessarily quality and skill, although I think his is up there. You know, this tree placement, the way the hills are. I find the Northeast the most beautiful route. Here's the issue, and I'm thinking in the mind of the people who run the route. The people who run the route are the point A to point B. That is Run8's big draw, and I got a funny feeling that's train simulation's big draw too. I think most people, you take model railroading for example, most people don't do operations. They just want to run. And I guess I don't know, but for me, or maybe they like to socialize too. So multiplayer is good because they can socialize and run trains and have a cola or a beer or whatever beverage they have if they're in the comfort of their own home. And a lot of people can't stand multiplayer as well. I see that on Train Sim all the time. People who like to run single player, and they love version 2 because the AI is there and they can do their own thing. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but in Microsoft Train Simulator, I used to write my own activities. It's like reading your own freaking story. You know where everything is, and yeah, some things are dynamic and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more dynamic than activities and script stuff, but it's still the same. This isn't, and I'm not, I'm not trying to knock people's interest. I'm not trying to knock whatever people like. People should like whatever whatever it is. But I'm the minority. I know I'm the minority. But guess what? Maybe we're the silent minority. Maybe I'm the voice of the voiceless. Ooh, I love that term. Maybe that's me. Maybe I'm like, damn. And yet I'm a developer. And I could do it. And it ticks me off because I am a developer. I know how to do this. I can't get the 3D graphics that they got. There's no way. That's way beyond my level. But I can do it 2D. I can. I have no doubt in my mind that I can do that if I put my mind to it. The problem is I don't. I get lazy. I find the easy way out, and then I just take a break because I worry too much. I honestly, I'm hypocritical for one thing, and that is, I am hypocritical the way Run8 conducts as far as their secrecy. But at the same time, I'm a developer too, and I know what Brad's thinking in a lot of ways. I'm not reading his mind, but I know that he is very super cautious. I also know that he can be a little thin-skinned like me, and I can be very thin-skinned. And you need thick skin when you're doing development. You really do. Because man, I watch some of the developers that come out and I see them get, and some of these other genres like the survival stuff and they just get the boat sim that I recently did, which eventually I got bored of too. Like everybody else did. And I'm like, oh man. And I had so much hope for it when I went into it. It was so cool. It was so immersive. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, oh, you're putting a net and you're filling it up one time because my boat got so good. And then it got so boring. I'm like, oh, no. This just became... It was an immersive, challenging... the challenge just went, bloop. Goodbye. And... I don't know. I sometimes I instinct buy certain this new game, this Mist Survival that came out. It just came out on early access for Steam. I saw a video on it. I was just like, whoa, I like this. And so far, I love it. Yeah, I didn't want to put it down last night. My son did. My son was getting tired. He wanted to do something else. Poor guy's just sitting there watching. I told him, I said, you can play this too. Unfortunately, with this game you can't because there's only one save. But anyways, if this phone rings, I will end this. So, just so you guys know, thanks for supporting. I'm always, my forum's still there. I check the Train Sim forums, for crying out loud, every day. I just checked it this morning. That's why I replied to somebody on a screenshot forum who posted about getting into Run8. I'll probably get in trouble for that, but yet the comedy posts will still stay. You watch. Nobody. I find that to be a little bit hypocritical at times because I've seen people get chastised for. Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to get in trouble. I've gotten into too much trouble on Train Sim. And the mods are not perfect, and certain people are not perfect, but anyways, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I don't think they're watching my YouTubes anyways, but they know me. So I'm in a pretty good good frame of mind. As far as Scott and I, what we talked about, and I'm just checking my phone here. As far as Scott and I, he did bring up a very interesting point, and that is don't be a stranger, which I'm not. I didn't know what happened with him. So there's some guys closer to me. Unfortunately, I'm not too sure where Ski is these days, and I don't have U.S. calling, and I've emailed him a couple times, so I don't know. He's been busy with work. I'll email him. I owe him at least that, but I think since I've been gone from the Southwest server, he's been busy. We've kind of, things have just faded between him and I, unfortunately, and he's just over the river for me. Well, I call over the river, which is in Buffalo, New York. You know, he's found a new life in the Southwest for him, I think. He gifted me the last route, and I feel bad that eventually I had enough of it. It's a nice route, it really is. It's got nothing to do with the roots and the art of Run8. It really doesn't. It's in the program and what it is, but it needs something else to make it immersive enough for me to continue to do it. That's why I was getting tired of trains. I was getting tired of Microsoft Train Simulator, because I was tired of writing my own activities. Then this came along. So things keep getting better to some extent, and then sometimes they drag out for 7 years. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of change in Run8 in the past 7 years. Massive changes. So that's where I keep thinking to myself, well, maybe they'll add something. Maybe they can do something. But that development curve where it went like a rocket, once version 2 hit, it just went, I guess you can't see it. Yeah, so it went like that, and then it just leveled off. It's almost like it hit maximum velocity, or I don't know what the term is. I know there's a term. There's a scientific term. Yeah, I don't know. They can go faster. Put it that way. They can go further, but then whatever development tools they're using or game engine, it has its limits, as Quincy has mentioned. Maybe they're at that limit. Maybe that's what they need version 3 for. Maybe they need a whole new engine. I don't know. Are they willing to do it? Do they see? I personally, I want to see them have a. I'm okay. It'd be nice to have the editors, yet still allow them to make a chunk of the money, if that's possible. Because I really think just opening it up to everybody like Microsoft Train Simulator they're going to miss out on a lot of potential revenue. I mean, they'll gain revenue. Microsoft Train Simulator did, but even in Microsoft Train Simulator, it wasn't enough for them. They got out. It didn't make them enough money. But then again, it was a train simulator for Microsoft. What do you expect? And when they made cuts, boom, that was one of the first to go. So I don't know. It's one of those things. My kid is not into Run8. He kind of was interested in trains, but then he realized, I'd probably get bored of that too. I'm like, yeah, I know. I guess we get bored of everything at some point. Maybe that's the whole thing of life. When you have a program, it's not evolving. It's on its own. But then having that creativity and being able to go in there and edit and modify, I think AI does a good job of really mixing things up. I also don't think the game should necessarily be fixed, like fixed worlds, for example, like the latest one, that Mist I was talking about. It has this gameplay, which is really cool and all, but for the most part, the buildings are in the same place all the time. You know where certain things are. You know where the bad guys are gonna hang out. The only random elements is when all of a sudden the sunshine starts to go down and the mist comes in, and that can come in at any time of day, and that's when you have to go for shelter, or you have to You know, you go for shelter and you basically hide in the corner and go to sleep for a couple hours. Or, and I tried doing that the first time yesterday for the first time, and it was just like all of a sudden they found me. They started beating up on the doors or the windows. And it's a little scary, Pro. I was afraid to show it to my son. My son's 10, but I was like, he's not having nightmares or anything like that right now. But considering what happened last week, I thought, man, do I really want to show him this right now, or do I really want to get this right now? But we were looking in on Thursday. We were looking in on it, and we both loved it. And he seems to, at least in the waking hours, he's fine. He knows this stuff ain't real. But there's zombies in it, so I don't know. It's. I'll find out today if there's an issue. If there's an issue, I'm like, oh man, you mean I gotta play this by myself? I don't want to do that. Well, actually, I kind of do. Actually, that's why I got it. I'm kind of in a rock between a hard place because you wanted to play a little bit, but. Well, he'll just have to spectate along because I'm going to tell him, I'm going to say, like, look, I'm going to be playing this game during the week, buddy. It's either that or I go back to subsistence for a while. And subsistence, I mean, there's stuff I can do in subsistence still. I could start a new single-player world. That'd be fine. I could develop. Yes, I know, I can develop. And believe me, I want to. I really do. I was looking at YouTube videos last night. I was looking at something called Godot, or I think it's pronounced differently, Godot. That's another game engine. The game engine looked too cartoonish for my liking. At least anything that I seen can't come out of it reminded me. I don't want to make these two-player action games, or not two-player, 2D action games, or these retro action games. I'm not interested in the retro action. What I'm thinking about doing, as I've said before, is Trade Dispatcher 3.5 was the last version of Trade Dispatcher. It can be better than that. There's so many things that I wanted it to be better. I'm not going to make it compatible, but I could easily make a Trade Dispatcher program better than TD3.5. We know how it works. How it works is not rocket science. I'm telling you right now, it is not rocket science. I'm surprised, at least I haven't seen, I've seen other dispatcher programs, but then they've been limited. I could, if I really wanted to, I could say screw the freight yard thing and just go right for the dispatcher. If it was all about money, and I could say, okay, well, I'm gonna write my own dispatcher program, and I'm gonna put editors in so that people can put in their own worlds or their own territories, and we'll see how I do with that. Because I can make it better than 3.5, personally. Now, can I make it compatible for ATCS and all that other stuff? I don't know. Perhaps a newer version of ATCS, mainly, but ATCS is kind of on the downside, except in Niagara, which, oddly enough, we're getting ATCS towers. And if you don't know what ATCS is a... I featured it on here once before. I'm not really supposed to, apparently. Because there's something called ATCS Monitor that reads the signals that basically show you where the trains are. That's what they do. CSX, forget about it. The ATCS is dead. Because they've all gone satellite with the positive train control. They also use a satellite system. So they've taken ATCS out. ATCS is still used by Canadian National, Norfolk Southern. I don't know about CP Rail. I don't even know if they have... Half the time, I don't even think they have control. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And sorry, yes. Canadian Pacific. I monitor a few territories that's just so freaking dead. Even around Toronto. Or by Oshawa, you see a few trains. I don't know what Canadian Pacific does in Eastern Canada, to be quite honest. They must run bigger. I don't even know if they run bigger trains, but they don't run that many. But we're in Canada, so home of Trudeau. But anyways, the pretty boy that tells everybody how to speak, but whatever, wants to change the national anthem, and social justice, politically correct crap. Anyways, you don't want to get onto politics. Don't get me started. Do not get me started. Brain. Nobody started. You guys aren't starting me. I can't see the chat, by the way. I don't have it on right now, so sorry. I don't feel like watching the chat right now because I'm gonna I'm gonna close this off very shortly here before anybody calls. I should take a shower, get ready, because I'm not really ready. So I don't know. That's about it. So anyways, let me just go with what Scott was mentioning. Scott was mentioning, of course, the not be a stranger part, but he also mentioned something about, you know, maybe him and I can do something together. There's two ways I look at that. Either one, we'll figure out a way, him and I, to do Run8 together and make it interesting just for us. And we'll talk about the parameters. We'll decide, you know, what it's going to be, and decide. Maybe you know, I have some ideas. Having it work with more than one person will inspire me to do more. I'm tired of putting out something that represents tries to please everybody or tries to host a server. I had my server advertised on Run8 servers for 2 weeks. I had posted on TrainSim that my server was going back up. We didn't get anything. After 2 weeks, I pulled the plug. I wasn't going to. Had I had just a couple of people come on and run a train, I don't think anybody ran a train that I recall. Not one. And I was like, you know, I thought Scott had the same idea. I don't even know if his server's still up or whatever, to be quite honest. But he was totally open. He had no parameters. He basically said, you know, anybody can do whatever they want. To me, the problem with open parameters is, without parameters, people, even like myself, is like, well, I can do anything, but I can do anything I want in single player too. You know what I mean? So that kind of defeated the process for me. I wanted something where there was some kind of structure, some kind of idea as to what we're trying to simulate and how we're going to go about doing it, how we're going to divvy up the manpower, or to determine what the manpower is, because Scott's got more time than me, but you know, maybe I can try something with him. Maybe I can live stream it. Maybe you know, him and I can do something, and then just keep it private between the two of us. Let others decide if they want to be part of that or not. Or I can go the other way and I can say, you know, let me try to develop something. Let me really be serious about developing something, and then Scott can help me there. Honestly, Scott and I are both tired of Run8 to many ways, but maybe if we can partner together, maybe we can make it interesting again. I don't know, but it's not about just running trains. Running trains, the AI can do, and I know there's a lot of people who, you know, have run on my server in the past and just like running trains. That's great and all. It's the manpower, it's the switching, it's the stuff. And there was, once upon a time, there was a lot of demand for that. It slowly went somewhere. I don't know where it went to, but it just, you know, maybe it went to other servers, maybe it went to single player. I don't know where it went to, but it slowly went bloop. There's a lot of people who just spend a lot of time just happy enough to switch. They find it challenging or whatever. You know, maybe I will write a version 2 to RTS yet for Run8 version 2 before it becomes obsolete again. Maybe, but I'm tired of giving myself, saying, you know, giving myself dates and trying to give, you know. They say, oh yeah, you write goals and all that other stuff. Yeah, okay, well fine, I set goals for myself, and then something happens and I just feel bummed out and I don't want to do it. And then that's the way I am. Forum activity's fairly low right now. I think honestly, I think people who did follow me, be it excuse me, be it haters or not, were tired of me making, trying to get them doing to something, and then all of a sudden I'd quit. So I don't blame people for giving up on me, especially if they're kind of invested in what I'm doing, and then I just decide, I'm getting really tired or frustrated, and then I end up giving it up. I I think for me, Scott and I are in the same wavelength. At least we can have that communication. He has his way of doing things. We're very different in many ways as far as how we see operations, but who knows? Maybe we can come together. I thought I could come together with some of the other guys, either the Southeast or the Southwest server at one time. At least the talk was there. I think the talk was there with the Southeast server, but it didn't happen. In some ways I look at what they're doing, and I haven't really looked at what they're doing in a while, but it's possible. It's just there's too many little differences, and I think it led to, it's nothing against them. I get along with these guys great. It's just a different idea as to how we wanted to do things. And even as a client, I thought, oh yeah, well, I'll just be a client on Southwest server, and it's just like everything is so slow progressing, because even when you get 14 people online, maybe they've broken that now, I don't know, but even when you get so many people online, things progress so slow because the area is so freaking huge. And even when you have a lot of people who are willing to do the work, things progress so slow. When things progress so slow, it doesn't seem like you're on a railroad that size. I think that's where it all comes down to. It doesn't feel like you're on a railroad that size because things are progressing so slow. On the other hand, I do like running on a main line. I do occasionally like running on a main line with purpose. The problem is aside from the only one that I came close to almost having that was not Selkirk, what do you call it? Oh, the single track main line between Jacksonville and Tampa. I can't even think of the name of the sub right now. That's how the way my brain works. But that little project I had going, with the exception of having to blow my horn at every freaking crossing and trying to dispatch myself, which was difficult to do, it got ridiculous. I mean, every time I didn't know when the crossings were going to come. They were just fast and furious down there. It was difficult to do. So if there wasn't as many crossings and it was single track, kind of like single track rural, I would almost, honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I may be curious as to how the Fitzgerald sub works. And you might think, well, why the hell would you why would you go to an expansion for Florida up in Georgia and you'd go to the Fitzgerald? I believe, maybe I'm thinking the wrong sub. Maybe that's a double track. I think that's a single track mainline. I'd have to see it. I'd have to really see it and think about it. But that's the potential. A Fitzgerald sub, is a little bit bigger of a single track mainline. It's kind of like what Mojave is. The difference with Mojave, okay, and I'm trying to picture a line that works good for a small environment. Fitzgerald's busy, but you can still act like it isn't. As long as they have industry spread out enough. I mean, I look at the Northeast, the only one that I can think of, because everything's double track mainline, it's really representing something. Although it's not very high capacity these days. For a long time, it's actually been over capacity. Or sorry, the line's over capacity. The amount of trains that run it are under capacity, well under capacity. I mean, this used to be a 4-track main line, and yet they could probably go single track with sidings many places, quite frankly. And you can operate it that way if you want, but it looks kind of silly. It defeats the purpose to me. So, just use some of the crossovers, kind of what CN does up this way when they got rid of their double tracks. Niagara, they got rid of the double track there. They got rid of the double track out towards Sarnia. But wow, it's been a half an hour. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to end this. The screen keeps on. It's been over a half an hour. So enough of me rambling. So I thought you guys at least deserved that. I wasn't gonna bother. I was just gonna go quiet for a while, but I thought maybe you guys deserved to hear about what's happening, where my mind is, and all that other stuff. Same old, typical, you know. So, you know, hang in there. Check my forum every now and then. I might have something new. I might keep an eye on my YouTube. I'm not going to be streaming. I don't think I'll be streaming as much, honestly. I was going to stream the other game last night, and I couldn't. If I get into game development in the near future, I'll do it. There's really not much else I can say about Run8 and train simulation. If you guys got a train simulator out there that you think is worthy or might have potential to meet my requirements, let me know, because I'm in the market for one. Seriously. I don't think any of them can do it, though. I think Run8's the best competitor, quite frankly. I looked at trains. Yeah, Scott and I were talking, or Scott had mentioned it a little bit. It's got to be something that is progressive. It's got to be something that is the potential to be cooperative. It doesn't have to be multiplayer, but it should be. I think it should be, because I think that lends itself to the model railroad style environment. The reason why I'm okay with model railroads, but I'm not with clubs, is the lack of one-to-one scale. When you're so used to one-to-one scale, and then you go to a model railroad club and you're running at a goofy whatever the scale is at, like, you know, some places are built 4-to-1. Like the last club we were at, I think that was mainly 4-to-1. No, it wasn't even 4-to-1. The timetable was built to 4-to-1, but the mileage in between was probably at least 12-to-1. And I'm not talking about the scale, the HO scale, 1/83. I'm talking about what they call smiles, scaled miles. That's how you know, basically you lay out the length of the track, times it by 83, and that's what it represented, how many scale miles of track you had. Then you had to multiply it by another factor, which really represented the true scale mile distance between cities. So that's how you got smiles. Scale miles. It's scale miles plus scale miles, whatever. It's scale. One-to-one scale has advantages and disadvantages. Some of you guys, and I know I'm still rambling. I'll keep this up. Here's another thing. There's a big trend that I know there's a lot of people who love running from Seligman all the way into LA. If you got the time of day and that's what makes you happy, or you like to run in 2 or 3 or 4 different saves or whatever, that's your thing, you know, have fun. I mean, have fun. It's, you know, you guys are Run8 train simulator patrons as well. I don't know if that's where the direction is going, because I mean, I've always envisioned of having this great network of all these Microsoft Train Simulator routes somehow merged together into this one huge freaking network. The problem is we've got 3 big regions, or sorry, 3 regions, one of which is expanding, which looks like it's going to continue to expand rapidly. I got a funny feeling California ain't done expanding. We know the Southeast is expanding. You know, that's what happens. You got to make money, and then you just go to what you know, and what you know is usually connected to what you've already built, and people develop the regions they know the most. Mikey's doing the same thing, although I'm sure he's expanding to areas he may not know as well, like his home base in Selkirk, he's probably going to expand at some point, you know, hopefully, if it's feasible for him. But what happens, like I said, the bottom line, what happens is you need people to work those, to get the yards and the humps and all that other wonderful stuff to work. Even switching, even local switchers, people have to be able to do it. And if you don't have the people, I mean, even the real world, they cannot switch themselves. They cannot switch themselves. Nowhere. There's not one AI system right now that is capable, that I'm aware of switching a yard by itself. Not yet. There are AI systems that can run trains through main lines by themselves. There are AI dispatching systems to some degree, although I don't know how well it is. It may be assisted AI. I'm looking at developing AI assisted dispatching for something, because I already have, you know, like I said, I already have it designed, and it seems to match all truth tests that I've done. Allow it to AI dispatch properly, this regardless of the length of the train, on single track main lines. It's once you get into double track main lines, the algorithm changes a little bit, because then you're talking about more overtakes and utilizing 2 tracks. So it becomes more, you know, the human creativity process comes in, where the AI system is just going by rules, like, okay, A and B is here, he's going to meet here, can he meet at this siding? Well, no, because this length is that length. So can he meet at this siding? No. Can he meet at that siding? No. Then they're here, well, he's already here, and he was already established to be safe to be there, and he's already established to be safe to be there. One of them has to hold for a long time if the lengths are too big. That's how it gets to it. You only come onto the territory when it's safe to do so. A dispatcher has the ability to, first of all, there's certain limitations as to the train size and all kinds of different things when a train comes into a territory. You can't have certain HPT, you can't have certain this and that. Trains come into the territory, they come from both ends. They have to meet a certain criteria. The dispatcher then, allowing it to come onto the territory, has to make sure that it can safely get out of the way. So if you've got a 10,000 foot train, for example, and you have a 10,000 foot train at one end, there has to be an area in which those trains, and there are 10,000 foot trains these days, but if that territory cannot handle a 10,000 foot train in both directions, then there's a problem. Now, it may allow one 10,000 foot train, but it can only work if there's a train that's going to fit in the sidings coming the other way. Double track main line doesn't really have those standards. Holding and holding a train as well has certain standards, especially when you're talking about grade crossings. How long can you hold a train? Just because a double track section is so big, a train length may block crossings at a certain length. So there's those things to consider. These are all AI things that can be done. If you have rules and criteria like that, it can be programmed. It's a logic. That's all it is. It's if and else statements galore, nested ifs. I can do all that. Nested ifs are fine. What I can't do is try to figure out how to do all those wonderful looking 3D graphics and trying to make it into these really cool, easy looking game engines. I can program in a Commodore 64. If Commodore 64 language is available, guess what? And if it still worked on the great machines today, I would have already built a train simulator in Commodore 64. I would have done it years ago. But it's different. You know, it's a lot more complicated. There's different game cards. There's different graphic cards. There's different sound cards. I mean, things change. Sometimes they get more complicated, sometimes they get more easy, because the smart people are the ones that can develop the game engines that are more adaptive, so more people can use it, and blah, blah, blah. There's costs of certain game engines. Some of them are free, not always the most adaptive. Some of the best game engines have licensing things going on if you make so much money. Well, honestly, I'm not looking to make a massive amount of money in this. That's why I really do want to consider developing a train simulator or something. Now, would you guys like to see a 2D freight yard simulator? I mean, it used to be popular. Abacadabra software, I think, used to have a little switching platform. You just switched on a little. It's like a shelf layout on the size of my living room here. That was it. You came in, you had your train. It was like 6 cars, and you had a little bit of a switching puzzle, and that was it. Then they came out with the first. I don't know if it was the first, but they came out with, I can't even remember the name of it. I did buy it, I remember that. It was kind of like the first 3D one, and you were kind of in a goofy looking engine, and you went through and you're traveling at ridiculously fast speeds around crazy curves, but it was neat. And then Europe had a train simulator, which was really neat. It had well, there was a few ones. There was 2D train simulators at one time. There was a couple of them. There was a text-based simulator at one time. I could do that. But there was also the Train Master. The original Train Master was a 2D. You weren't looking on top. You were looking at the side of the train profile as it was going. I remember this. I'm in my mid-40s. I remember these simulators. I've had some of these simulators, or I've had access to some of these simulators. You know, and when I say I've had access, things were a little bit different like then, because it was pretty easy to copy a lot of these things, and back then software was expensive. Software isn't as expensive now. You have enough things that come into a marketplace, prices go down. That's the way competition works. It helps people. And competition tends to make life easier for people as well, to some degree. What doesn't work well is when big companies get formed and then they take on the monopolies, and suddenly you don't have competition. Well, guess what? Prices go up, they make a lot of money, and the economy goes, and that's about it. That's kind of that's kind of the pros and cons of capitalism. Wow, how did I say that? And don't get me on socialism, because socialism has its pros, but it's got a lot of cons, and it's got a lot of proven cons. Both systems kind of don't work. I don't know what the solution is to that, to be quite honest. But, you know, I don't know if we'll figure out, if somebody will figure out a solution. It ain't going to be me. I highly doubt that. I don't think I'm smart enough. But, anyways, wow, that was strange. So I'm broadcasting at 30 frames per second now. Do I look better? I don't know. I changed. I was set at 20, and then I changed it up to 30 last night. And the only reason why I changed up to 30 was because I was doing Run8 videos, and I could only get 20 out of the thing. And then I started doing videos of some of the games that I could run at 30 frames, like last night. So I set it to 30, and then the game I didn't like how the game was acting on live streams. That's the other problem too with me doing live streams, is you get a little bit of a hit in frames. And sometimes, depending upon the program, it'll be more noticeable than others. So, unless you have a good graphics card, it's very hard to stream at a good rate. So, I'm not updating my graphics card, so there. And if I go 2D, well, it ain't going to matter, because then you can see what I see, and maybe that's the way to go. So, I know you guys like 3D. I love 3D. I even love... I know I'm yapping. Train Sim World. I love Train Sim World. If they could only get that thing... Get out of here. I do not want support right now. Probably need it. But anyways. Train Sim World just blew me away. And I honestly, I wanted it to succeed. I really wanted it to do everything it looked like it was going to do. And I'm not talking about physics. One thing there was one thing I'll say about Unreal 4. This last game that I did actually showed to me that Unreal 4 might work with a track editor, but I don't know about a landscape editor. The thing with Unreal 4 is you create the world, but assets are movable. The problem with that is I don't think it would work with an editor, but because you can't edit it. You got to go into Unreal 4 to edit and make worlds. So I've really wanted to do something in Unreal 4. I really do. I can't tell you how much I want to work with Unreal 4. It just blows me away, even on my medium range graphic card. And that's the problem with it, because it's a medium range graphic card. I'm not taking full advantage of it, and I'll never see it. So why bother? I just enjoy it. I enjoy the ability of it, and maybe I'm not taking full advantage of it, and maybe I never will be able to. But at least I'll get it at least at a level that we're mid-level. So maybe Unity's the best way to go in that case. But this is why I'm saying this. I saw something in this game I hadn't seen in any survival game for Unreal 4, and that was I was chopping down a tree. Most trees are static in the world. You hit at them and they just give you a bunch of wood in the survival games. Well, this one last night I was chopping down the tree and sure enough it fell down. I've seen that in some of the other games. There's some survival games that do it. Stranded Deep is one that does it. And the reason why I mention that is because when it comes to assets, to me, it is possible for Train Sim World to have its own world and then have the save files, because all those cars are assets. It could do everything that Run8 could do as far as I'm concerned. In other words, Run8 version 3, to me, should have no problem running on Unreal 4. If you're not going to have an editor, put it in something that you've got better updated graphics that'll bring more people in, but then have the power to be able to do the things you want to do with it. And I think they use C and all that other stuff. I'm not sure. I won't speculate, and I won't even disclose, but I'm pretty sure that that's compatible with everything. I know it is with Unreal 4. I'm not too sure if it's compatible with Run8 these days or whatever, but they should be able to do it. But that's maybe they are doing it. Maybe they are looking into it. Maybe they're looking into other game engines. I don't know. I hope they are. For their sake, I hope they are, because I think they've reached the limit of what they want to do. Their worlds are so freaking big now. And when you got a bunch of humps running at the same time, and AI and all this other stuff, and yeah, you need it needs memory management more than graphics. I could live with the less graphics as long as it has the memory and capacity to be able to think, because it has to use its processing ability to be able to think like a railroad network would. And I'm not just talking about the AI trains, I'm talking about the dispatching, and I'm talking about the actual switching process. That's what I want to do. So for me, I want to get it. I know I'm looking at the camera this time. A lot of times I don't look at the camera because I'm looking that way. My camera's here. My TV. What I'm looking, see right there. What I'm pointing to right there is I'm pointing at my nose on my screen. That's my camera. Hi. That's just the way it is. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I would love to do a 3D world and be able to program it, but I think it's taking on too much and I don't have the artistic skills. I was going to speak to my son this weekend. Originally I was really inclined to trying to get him to become my artist, and crazy enough as a 10-year-old, but you know, just give him something to do, you know, especially to take his mind off of things. And then we got distracted with this thing, so maybe, you know, he gets tired of playing the game, so maybe I'll get him in onto this weekend. But we are going to go out this. Wow, it's 11:18. Okay, I gotta stop yapping, guys. Sorry for the long video. I know it's long-winded, but hopefully you guys like this. I hope it's positive enough. I hope it's not I hope it's not negative. I hope it's not seen as bashing Run8. I'm not bashing Run8. I honestly, I'm really not. I wish them all the luck. I want to see them succeed. I want to see I want to see competition too, though. I think competition would help them, quite frankly. And honestly, maybe the competition, maybe there's something out there. Maybe somebody, can get my money. If I can spend $10 on some survival sim just like that out of early access, I mean, or 15 Canadian or whatever, but there is people willing to spend a little bit of money for entertainment. But yet I won't buy a $10 boxcar or whatever kit or whatever for Run8, and that's because I don't know if it's going to be there long term. So that's why I didn't buy California, or sorry, that's why I didn't buy LA. Somebody bought it for me. I appreciate it, but I didn't see longevity in Run8, so that's why I was very skeptical to do anything. But I posted some, check out Train Sim. I posted some forum posts. You might like them, Terry. They kind of relate to what I did here today. Check out the Train Sim forum. There's some, hopefully I'll get some responses. It seems to be a joke forum these days, more than anything. People going back and forth with jokes and funny ha-has, and serious topics all of a sudden turn into jokes about, I don't like it. I wish they'd get a little bit more serious. And the problem is you have a serious discussion and you don't get any replies. It's like crickets. But anyways, I guess that's just me. So, and that's just the way the forum is. There's maybe not enough voices out there, and other places you can't talk about it. You can't be any quote unquote anti Run8. You can't you can't get into those serious conversations. At least I don't see it that way. I mean, yeah, I can go on the Southwest forum, but that has a limited audience for the Southwest people, and we know about the other forum. And poor Sean put my I mean, and I didn't mean to do this. It'd be a PITA, but yeah, Run8 servers. I put my server up, and then I have to get approved that I have a server again, and then 2 weeks later I remove it. I'm like, so no, my Run8 server publicly will not go up for a very, very long time. We'll see. It'll be after version 3, or some massive changes. But anyways, that's until I start seeing enough genuine interest in the product itself, not what I'm doing, but genuine interest in what other people are doing for themselves that want to get together and do things. The only person I know that's even remotely curious of doing that is Scott. So Scott and I may be able to come up with something, but it's going to be private. Why would it be public? It's going to be him and I, and we'll share it. We'll stream it. I don't mind streaming it. I don't think he minds either. See, he has his own channel as well. So, anyways, guys, sorry for the long rambling message. Hope that helps explain everything. I'm gonna try to get ready. So, have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Take care.